AITA for telling my sisters to take care of their own fucking kids. As a child, my sisters hated me because I was a boy, and now they want me to babysit their kids. I'm the youngest of 3 kids, and growing up, my 2 older sisters, Sarah 28F and Leave 26F, made it absolutely clear that I was the odd one out. Now, I know sibling dynamics can be weird, but ours was straight up dysfunctional. Sarah and Leave were basically inseparable from the moment I can remember, like the stereotypical TV sisters who have inside jokes, finish each other's sentences, and form this unbreakable bond. You'd think that would be a cute thing, right? 2 sisters, always close. Well, it wasn't so cute when you add in their pure hatred for me because I wasn't a sister. You see, I'm a guy, and that alone seemed to offend them. From the time I was old enough to play with them, they made it abundantly clear that I was unwanted. They'd say things like, "We wanted another sister, not a brother." Or, "Boys are gross," and not like the kind of teasing you'd expect between siblings. This was real venom. They'd exclude me from everything. It was a no boys allowed rule, and I was the only boy in the house besides our dad, so guess who got left out every single time? For years, this went on. I'd try to join in on their games or ask if I could play with them, and I'd get shot down with comments like, "EW, go away," or "Why don't you go play with your gross boy toys?" It's not like I was some hyperactive, annoying little brother either. I was just a regular kid who wanted to hang out with his sisters. But they had this weird, almost cultish obsession with their girl-only world, and I was a threat to that. And it hurt. I mean, I was a kid too, and it felt like I was being rejected by my own family for something I couldn't control, being born a boy. It wasn't just that they didn't want to play with me. It was deeper than that. They seemed genuinely repulsed by my existence. They'd make comments about how gross boys were, and they directed it all at me. Boys are dirty, boys are stupid, boys ruin everything. It was constant. My parents noticed, and every now and then, they'd step in and punish them for being too mean, but it didn't really stop the behavior. It was like they'd just learned to be more careful about when they'd say it. Things got bad enough that our parents decided we all needed therapy. Not just family therapy either, but individual therapy for each of us. I think they were hoping that maybe my sisters would learn to accept me, or at the very least stop being so cruel. But therapy didn't work, at least not for them. I'll never forget the family sessions where Sarah and Leave made it very clear that they didn't see me as their brother. At one point, in the middle of a session, they straight up said they would never love me and that they wished someone would come and take me away forever. They went on this whole rant about how boys are disgusting and nobody wanted them. They said they'd be happier if they never had to see me again. My parents were devastated, obviously, but what could they do? You can't force someone to care. After that, the family therapy kind of fizzled out. It wasn't really working, and my sisters were determined to keep me out of their lives. My parents started focusing more on making sure I had my own outlets, friends, hobbies, activities, whatever could keep me occupied so that the rejection at home didn't crush me. It helped, but I was still just a kid. Of course, I wanted my sisters to care. Of course, I wanted to be part of their world. But it became clear that was never going to happen. Fast forward a few years, and things hadn't changed much. My sisters were still best friends, and I was still the unwanted brother. The only difference was that I'd stopped trying to get their approval. By the time I was a teenager, I had my own life outside of them, and I was fine with it, or at least, I told myself I was. My parents kept trying to repair the damage, but at some point, they had to let it go too. I think they realized that Sarah and Leave just weren't going to change. Then came adulthood, and with it, a whole new level of exclusion. Sarah got married when I was in high school, and guess who wasn't involved in any of it? Me. I wasn't in the wedding party, wasn't invited to help with anything, didn't get a say in anything. I didn't even feel like a guest. I was just there. And when Sarah and Leave started having kids, same story. They didn't send me any birth announcements, didn't invite me to meet their babies, nothing. Our parents, on the other hand, were all over their lives, but I was invisible. Even on social media, where you'd think there'd be some level of obligatory family connection, I'm blocked. Well, not blocked exactly, but both of them have their accounts set to private, and I don't have permission to follow them. It's like they've gone out of their way to create this boundary between us, and at this point, I've accepted it. I'm 24 now, and I've come to terms with the fact that they don't see me as part of their family. Honestly, I don't see them that way either anymore. So, here's where things get ridiculous. A few months ago, Sarah and Lev both approached me out of the blue with this request. They both have kids now, and apparently, they've been struggling to balance work and childcare. They'd tried sharing a nanny and babysitter between them, but I guess they got tired of paying for both for different occasions. So they come to me, the brother they've excluded from their lives for as long as I can remember, and ask if I'd be willing to babysit their kids. At first, I thought it was a joke. Like, how could they possibly think I'd want to help them? But no, they were serious. They said something along the lines of, "You should help out because we're family," or whatever, family. Really, now they want to play the family card. I just stared at them, trying to process the audacity of it all. I asked if they were serious, and when they confirmed they were, I rolled my eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. I mean, after 24 years of them treating me like an outsider, now they want to rely on me to help raise their kids. It was laughable. When I told them there was no way in hell I'd be babysitting for them, they acted all shocked, like I was the one being unreasonable. They told me I had a shitty attitude and that I was being selfish. Selfish. After everything they'd put me through, they actually thought they had the right to call me selfish for not wanting to be their free babysitter. I didn't hold back. I told them they could take care of their own kids and that I wasn't interested in helping out after they'd spent our entire lives making it clear they didn't want me around. I told them they weren't going to use me now just because it was convenient for them. They didn't like that, of course. They accused me of being just as bad as they were for not helping. Like, what? I'm the bad guy now because I won't drop everything to help the same people who've treated me like garbage for decades. Honestly, I don't care anymore. I'm over it. I'm over them. If they think I'm a terrible person for not wanting to be their backup babysitter, so be it. I don't owe them anything. They can figure out their own childcare problems. Maybe they should have thought about how they treated me before they needed my help. After that confrontation with my sisters, I thought the whole babysitting saga was over. I figured they'd either find someone else to watch their kids or, pay for a nanny or sitter like they'd been doing before. It was obvious to me that there was no way in hell I was going to help them after everything they'd put me through growing up, but apparently, that wasn't the end of it. About a week later, my mom called me up and asked if I could swing by the house for dinner. Nothing unusual about that, right? My parents and I still have a decent relationship despite all the drama with my sisters, so I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was just going to be a normal family dinner, me, my mom, my dad, catching up on life. Maybe some small talk about work or whatever. But when I got there, things felt a little off right from the start. My mom was kind of off, like she was being extra nice, overly cheerful, and making small talk that felt really forced. My dad, on the other hand, was just sitting in the living room, barely acknowledging me when I walked in. The whole vibe was strange, but I didn't think too much of it at first. I just figured maybe they'd had an argument earlier or something. After we ate, my mom asked if we could have a chat. Now, this isn't completely out of the ordinary either, but there was something in her tone that made me a little uneasy. We sat down in the living room, and she just kind of gave me this long look, like she was trying to figure out how to say whatever it was she had on her mind. Finally, she started talking, and the first thing out of her mouth was, "So, I've been hearing from your sisters." My heart sank immediately. I knew where this was going. I leaned back in the chair, bracing myself for whatever was about to come. "Sarah and Lev told me that they asked you for some help with the kids, and you refused," she said, her voice calm but probing. "They're really upset about it. I just don't understand why you'd say no, especially when they've never asked for help like this before." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My sisters, upset. The same sisters who spent my entire childhood treating me like I was some kind of disgusting intruder in their perfect little sisterhood. The same sisters who excluded me from everything for years. And now they were upset because I didn't want to babysit their kids. I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. "Mom," I said, "you know what my relationship with Sarah and Lev has been like. They've never treated me like family. They've gone out of their way to exclude me from their lives, even as adults. I didn't get invited to Sarah's wedding. I wasn't told when they had their kids. They don't even let me follow them on social media. And now, suddenly, they want me to step in and help with their kids like we're one big happy family. How am I supposed to just forget everything and act like none of that ever happened? My mom sighed and nodded, but I could tell she wasn't fully on my side here. I get it, I really do, she said. But don't you think this is an opportunity to start fresh? They're reaching out, and maybe this is their way of trying to make amends. They're not perfect, but they're your sisters. We're family, and family should help each other. I couldn't help but laugh at that. It wasn't a happy laugh, it was one of those bitter, disbelieving laughs that escapes when someone says something so ridiculous you can't even process it. They're not reaching out to make amends, Mom, I said. They're reaching out because they need something. They don't care about repairing our relationship or being close. They just don't want to pay for childcare anymore, and they see me as a free option. That's all this is. My mom frowned. I could tell she wasn't buying it. Well, maybe that's how it seems, she said, but they made the first move. They asked you for help. That's not easy for them, you know. And I think they were hoping you'd be willing to meet them halfway. They're both working moms, and they're under a lot of stress. This could be a chance for all of you to move forward. There it was, the classic family should help each other argument. I'd heard it a million times growing up, especially when my sisters were being punished for the way they treated me. But here's the thing. Family doesn't treat each other the way Sarah and Lev treated me. They don't exclude someone for years and then expect everything to be fine just because they suddenly need help. I was about to respond when my mom said something that really got under my skin. They told me you were really rude to them when they asked, she said. They said you rolled your eyes and made it clear that you weren't interested. That's not like you. I raised you to be better than that. That hit a nerve. I'm usually pretty level-headed, but hearing that made my blood boil. I was rude, I snapped. I was the one being rude after everything they've done to me. Mom, I didn't even exist to them for years. They made that perfectly clear. And now, because I won't jump at the chance to be their free babysitter, I'm the bad guy. That's bullshit, and you know it. My mom looked taken aback, like she wasn't expecting me to react so strongly. I'm not saying they've been perfect, she said quietly, but they're trying now. And I think it's worth considering that maybe they've changed. People grow up, and they realize things. Maybe they're reaching out because they want to start including you more. I shook my head. If they wanted to start including me, they would have done it before they needed me for something, I said. They wouldn't have waited until they were desperate for help. This isn't about family or trying to rebuild a relationship. It's about convenience. They're only asking me because they don't want to pay a sitter anymore. My mom sighed again, this time more heavily. They're still your sisters, she said softly. And we're all family. At the end of the day, that's what matters most. I just don't want to see this opportunity go to waste. They came to me after you said no, and they're really hurt by it. They feel like you're holding a grudge over something that happened when you were kids. That was the breaking point for me. I stood up from the couch, feeling my frustration reach its peak. Mom, this isn't just about something that happened when we were kids. This has been going on our whole lives. They've never treated me like family, and I'm not going to pretend that everything's fine now just because they suddenly need something from me. I'm done. My mom didn't say anything for a moment, just sat there looking at me with this mix of disappointment and sadness. I could tell she was torn between understanding my side and wanting to smooth things over with my sisters, but I wasn't going to budge on this. I'd spent too many years being the outcast, and I wasn't about to let them guilt-trip me into helping out now. After that tense conversation with my mom, I figured things would blow over. I knew my sisters weren't the type to suddenly care about making amends. Their only concern was finding someone who would watch their kids for free, and once they realized I wasn't going to budge, they'd probably move on. At least, that's what I thought. A few days passed, and I didn't hear anything from them directly. No texts, no calls, nothing. I wasn't too surprised. Sarah and Lev had always been pretty cutthroat when it came to their opinions about me, so I didn't expect them to chase me down after I refused to help. If anything, I was relieved to be free of their demands. But then, something really weird happened. One night, I was scrolling through Instagram, mindlessly liking posts and responding to a few DMs from friends, when I got a notification. I glanced at it and did a double take. Sarah had just followed me. My mind short-circuited for a second. Sarah, my sister. The same sister who had made it crystal clear for years that she wanted nothing to do with me. I clicked on her profile to make sure I wasn't hallucinating, and there it was, her account, suddenly public. No more private settings, no more lockdown profile. I could see her posts, her stories, everything. Even more shocking, she had posted a family photo just a few hours earlier, one that included both her kids and Liv's kids at some kind of family gathering. I hadn't been invited, of course, but the fact that she was letting me see this was odd, to say the least. Just as I was processing that, another notification popped up. Liv has followed you. Now I was really confused. What was going on? These were the same women who had blocked me from their lives for as long as I could remember. And now, suddenly, they were following me on social media like we were all one big happy family. My gut reaction was to assume it was some kind of mistake. Maybe they'd accidentally hit the public button on their profiles, or maybe they didn't realize I could see their stuff now. But before I could even make sense of it, I got another notification, this time, a DM from Sarah. Sarah, hey, now that you can follow us and see our lives, I think it's time we move past all the old stuff. We're family after all, and it would mean a lot if you could help us out with the kids. You don't even know your nieces and nephews, and this could be a great way to bond. I just stared at the message in disbelief. The audacity was unreal. They'd gone from excluding me for years, making me feel like an outsider in my own family, and now that they needed something, they were acting like flipping a switch and following me on Instagram would magically fix everything. I could almost hear her smug tone through the message, as if she expected me to fall to my knees in gratitude because, finally, after all these years, they had allowed me into their lives. And then, as if to double down on the absurdity, I got another DM, this time from Liv. Liv, hey bro, I'm sure you saw that we made our accounts public. I'm glad you can finally see what's been going on in our lives. Look, I know things haven't always been great between us, but I think it's time we start acting like family. Sarah and I could really use your help with the kids. You're their uncle, after all, and family helps family. Plus, now that you can follow us, it's clear we want you involved. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Now that I can follow them, it's clear they want me involved, like, seriously. They thought making their accounts public and following me on Instagram was some grand gesture that made up for decades of exclusion and cruelty. It was laughable. I sat there for a few minutes, just staring at my phone, trying to wrap my head around the sheer entitlement of it all. My sisters, who had spent our entire lives pushing me away, now expected me to be their babysitter because they'd hit the follow button on social media. That was their big peace offering, a virtual pat on the back and a front row seat to their carefully curated Instagram lives. I debated how to respond. Part of me wanted to unleash all the pent-up anger and frustration I'd been holding onto for years. I wanted to tell them exactly what I thought of their sudden change of heart and how hollow it felt. But another part of me knew that engaging with them would just give them more fuel. They didn't deserve my anger or my time. Instead, I decided to leave them on read. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of a response. They had made their choice all those years ago, and now, they had to live with it. Making their accounts public and following me didn't erase everything that had happened. It didn't change the fact that they'd excluded me from their lives, their milestones, and their families. Over the next few days, I noticed they started posting more stories and tagging each other in family posts, as if to rub it in that they were still close while trying to paint this picture of a perfect sisterhood. Sarah posted a video of her kids playing with Liv's kids in the park, and the caption read something like, "So lucky to have a sister like you, Liv. Our kids are going to grow up as close as we did." It was also fake, and I could see right through it. They weren't trying to include me. They were trying to manipulate me. They thought that by opening up a small window into their lives, I'd suddenly feel guilty for not being involved. They wanted me to feel like the bad guy for standing my ground and refusing to be their backup babysitter. A few days later, I got another DM from Sarah. This one was less friendly. "Sarah, I don't get why you're being so difficult about this. We're family, and family is supposed to help each other out. You're their uncle, don't you want to be a part of their lives? It's not like we're asking for much, just a little help with babysitting now and then. You're honestly being really selfish. That was it. That was the final straw. I couldn't stay silent any longer. I typed out a response, my fingers moving faster than my brain. Me? You've got to be kidding me. You spent years making it clear that I wasn't part of your lives. Years, I wasn't invited to your weddings. I wasn't told when you had kids. I wasn't even allowed to follow you on social media until just now when you suddenly needed something from me. And now, because you hit the follow button, I'm supposed to drop everything and be your free babysitter. Give me a break. You don't care about me. You just care about what I can do for you, and I'm not interested. I hit send before I could second guess myself. It felt good to finally say it, to get all that off my chest. I knew it wouldn't change anything. Sarah and Lev would probably double down and continue to act like the victims in all of this, but at least I had stood my ground. A few minutes later, Lev chimed in with her own response. Lev, wow, so this is how you really feel. Fine. Don't expect us to come crawling back to you when you need something. You're going to regret this. I laughed out loud at that, as if I'd ever go to them for help. They hadn't been there for me in any meaningful way my entire life, and they sure as hell weren't going to start now. In the end, I blocked them both. I didn't need their drama, their guilt trips, or their fake attempts at reconciliation. I was done. I had my own life to live, and I wasn't going to waste any more time trying to make sense of their twisted version of family. If they wanted to be part of my life, they should have tried a lot harder, a lot sooner. So, am I AITA for refusing to babysit for them after everything? Because honestly, I don't think so.